Hola, T-Shroom here. I'm very excited. This is a day of much anticipation for me. T-Shroom here for the Investing Bros. Good morning, good evening, good night. Maybe you're just grabbing lunch. I am T-Shroom, and we are here. And no matter where you are in the world, I am really glad that you're here joining us. We've got some big news, and I'll just jump right into it, guys. Very, very big news. Perhaps you remember this graphic right here. This is the election betting odds for the Argentine presidential election. I was bringing this to you all last week as Milei was up about 55% in the polls in the betting odds here. He's now obviously won there in Argentina, and now he is 100% likely to win, as the betting markets all over the world are predicting. Yes, indeed. You can see the headlines in the news. Javier Milei wins Argentine presidency. Bitcoin gains nearly 3%. Now, Tim pronounced it Javier. It might be Javier, Xavier. I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. Probably not Xavier, actually, now that I'm thinking about it a little more. But we're all very, very excited there for Milei as he got the big win. I've got a couple of treats as we dive into this story a little more. I've done some studying up on it, and I'm excited to bring it to you all. But here you go. You can see how Bitcoin's price is reacting. I've got the 4-hour chart here pulled up. And as you can see, Bitcoin was able to break out of this uptrending line of support, resistance, and push on through and get up here and touch this line from Chart Prime before it corrected, rejected, and made a move lower. But guys, we are now in firmly in this 37,000 range. And, you know, if we could get a nice little pop off of this uptrending line of now support, improve its support, that could be very, very bullish. We're going to be hearing some price predictions from some folks down in El Salvador, actually in just a few minutes here. And then we're going to be looking at a ton more news. But just real quickly, since we're here on the charts on the 4-hour, you are seeing the Ichimoku oscillator come back down a little bit, has not even reached halfway in the actual bull control zone, though. So until it leaves this zone, you more than likely are going to see much more upside, bullish movements there. And in this regression trend, you can see there was a lot of price movement in there, and then it was able to break out. And now it's kind of crabbing sideways as we're trying to figure out what the heck is actually going to happen in Argentina. What is actually going to happen? Because there's a lot of speculation, okay? But there are some facts. There's some actual things that have been said by the now elected official, Javier Milei. So we're going to get to that in just a second. Before we do, I want to look at the economic calendar really quickly. The FOMC minutes are going to be released on 3 p.m. on Tuesday. This will be very interesting to watch because sometimes there's some buzz around this. I'm thinking that more and more the buzz is going to be dissolving away as the FOMC becomes less and less relevant, as they basically just continue a pause. It's a pause snooze sesh from Jerome Powell over at the FOMC, exactly what he wants, right? They don't want to be too loud. They don't want to be in the headlines when they don't have to be, and that's more than likely what's going to happen with this FOMC minutes, not really print, just release Tuesday. What are the FOMC minutes? They are just essentially the notes that were taken during the meeting of the last FOMC. These have not been public, so there could be potentially something in there that indicates whether or not the Fed is going to hike or cut or continue to pause in their next decision. But more than likely, this is going to be a nothing burger. It almost always is, because they would never say anything in the meeting that would spook or boost the markets. So, but that's something good to know about. You also get the durable goods orders month over month on Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. So we'll be bringing you that, and then next week. So we can leave that till next week. We got plenty of stuff to be excited about this week. So let's go ahead and get into some of the details here on this big win from Javier Milei. Let's actually watch one of his videos from my good buddy over at my fellow investing bro has posted this video, and it's in Spanish, but there are some subtitles. You'll quickly understand the point of this video Let's go ahead and play that right now.
Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible, afuera. Ministerio de las Mujeres y Género y Diversidad, afuera. Ministerio de Obras Públicas, afuera. Aunque te resistas. Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología e Innovación, afuera. Ministerio de Trabajo, Empleo y Seguridad Social, afuera. Ministerio de Educación, Adoctrinamiento, afuera. Ministerio de Transporte, afuera. Ministerio de Salud, afuera.
All right, I think you get the point here, guys. He's a staunch libertarian, right? He's very similar. If I had to compare him to any candidate here in the United States, he's very similar to Vivek Ramaswamy, right? A candidate in the United States who has said he's going to come in and he's going to clean house, right? He's going to start from square one and build the budget up, start from zero. Now that's good, right? It's going to be painful. Now we're going to see a little bit of a prelude, a foreshadowing, if you will, from Argentina of what could happen. Now, Javier has to actually get in office, and he has to actually do these things, but the world is going to see these giant budgets that these world governments in the West and all over the world have been racking up by adding on department on top of department, on top of agency, on top of department, on top of ultimately their own Congress. Are these agencies and departments expendable? Clearly, the Department of Defense is probably not expendable, right? But there were some departments that are definitely expendable that you saw there on the Argentine list as Milei went afuérate. I love that. It's so fun to be in this moment. So guys, let's dive into a little more of the details there. That was just a lot of fun. Let's get into a little bit more of the meat and potatoes. The Central African Republic and El Salvador are countries that have made Bitcoin legal tender. Okay, there's some other ones. This is like almost a predictive page here from coinmarketcap.com. You can go check it out. Here, I can show you how to get there. You just go to, you get the logo here, get the cryptocurrencies, and then legal tender countries right here. What's actually kind of interesting is that Argentina is way down here. And I think that has a lot more to do with the fact that this election was a bit of an upset. It was not necessarily, predicted to happen. And yes, guys, we're going to be talking about this election pretty much the whole episode. This is the most important news in crypto right now. There's one more story that's somewhat interesting, but we're going to get to that at the end. So El Salvador, here's kind of the main player here. Nayib Bukele, president of Salvador, he's been extremely outspoken, pro-Bitcoin, right? And has enacted a lot of policies to be pro-Bitcoin. He also, I believe, has come in and cleaned house quite a bit there in El Salvador, but the difference is this. The difference is the actual GDP of each of these countries. Now, this is probably as of 2022. This is going to be some older data, but it's on wikipedia.com, so it's somewhat valid. You can see now here, in South America, El Salvador is number 16, okay, and it has a GDP of $35,000 per, I believe this one is, no, okay, so this is nominal. So that's very low. That's very low. It's not a very affluent country. Nayib Bukele, has taken extreme measures. Implementing a digital currency, right, as legal tender is an extreme measure to try to help that economy. Now, Argentina, although it has, I think it's like 100, I do have it up here. Argentina has, according to this one's wrong, but 73%. Let's see if we can find one that's right. Let's go to my tweet. How about that? Argentina has 142% inflation. It's pretty bad, right? But it does have a larger GDP output, okay? Just in general, their economy is larger. Even though their inflation is terrible and way out of control, they do have 621,000 GDP, okay? So in contrast to El Salvador's, which is 35,000 roughly, okay? I know these are very rough numbers, but these are not even up to date. I'm just trying to give you, probably not up to date, although it does say May 2023 here. So anyway, just trying to give you a little bit of comparison, because what's important is that these two countries are now going to be able to collaborate, right? And Argentina is moving much more closely to what the European countries, America, Canada, North and Mexico, Southeast Asian countries, what these countries would need as a model to implement Bitcoin. El Salvador and Central African Republic, they're nice, right, to do this, but they don't have the same types of risks that a European nation or a Canada or a Philippines, right, or an Australia would have. Those types of countries have a lot more to lose, frankly, right? And it's sad to say. It's not like I sit here and have a bunch of joy saying that, right? But it is the reality. Nayib Bukele is starting from a very, very impoverished country, a country with a lot of economic and social challenges. Whereas a country like Canada or Australia, they have a lot of good things going for them, right? And so implementing a currency like Bitcoin may not be the most obvious solution to their problems, but it is. And so if Argentina is able to implement Bitcoin as a legal tender, and that goes well for them, as it has in El Salvador, that could be the next step towards some of these other countries, bigger countries, implementing it. And then obviously, the finish line would be, the UK, the US, Germany, Japan. I think, and we're going to talk about Japan here in just a second. But let's go ahead and check out this tweet here from myself. If you're not following me on Twitter, you need to, because I tweet out a lot of interesting things and people love it. Argentina, 142% inflation. Okay, Venezuela, 210% inflation. Turkey, not too far behind at 61% inflation, and Ethiopia at 33%. The list goes on and on. There's probably another 50 countries that are in the double digits of inflation. And again, we're going to have to probably see this over the course of the next 2-3 years, right, to see how Argentina thrives or doesn't after they implement Bitcoin as legal tender. And then these other countries can kind of follow suit. Now, I'd say, and CoinMarketCap agrees with me, I would say that Venezuela is a prime candidate for the next country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. But they have a government that has a much tighter hold on what goes on there, and I don't know that their elections are going to allow for a radical right wing, right, conservative, libertarian to come in and clean house and implement something that has needed to be implemented since 1971 around the world, right, which would be a hard currency, at least back to the gold, at least gold backed. But in this case, you fast forward to 2023, we now have a digital currency called Bitcoin that is even superior to a gold backed currency. So a very, very interesting development here on the geopolitical scene. It is the convergence of geopolitics and the future of money, digital currencies, and economics. It's very, very interesting. We're going to jump over to the chat here before we get too much further. I've got chats from a bunch of new folks, which is great. Zindigi Photo said, wish our government in Cambodia would get on regulation quicker. Apparently, Binance started working with them already at Investing Bros. Thank you so much for tuning in. Zindagi Photo, consider subscribing for sure. Bitcoin Guru said, hit the like button. Thoughts on Engine Coin with 100% supply in circulation? Generally, I'm not going to do a review in this because this video obviously has one topic here. But Engine Coin, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It looks good. It looks good, especially 100% circulation in 100% supply and circulation. That's fantastic, right? Zimbigi Photo also said Lebanon also has serious inflation issues at the moment. Yeah, a lot of countries do because fiat sucks. Fiat is not a good currency, right? It's just like there is no currency that is fiat that is good. The dollar was pretty good up until 1971 when Nixon took it off the gold standard. It was pretty good, right? And obviously, it has led to tons of prosperity, not only in the United States, but around the world. It has been a solid currency until now, until the last 2 decades, when the United States government observed that you can run a deficit in Japan, proved it, right? And ever since then, they've just been unable to take their finger off the printer over there at the Federal Reserve. Well, that's one of the big things that Milei wants to do, right? He wants to go in and he actually wants to end, we saw him say afuera, right? He wants to end certain large departments of the government, and that is actually one of the things that he wants to end. Okay, so let's check it out here. Argentina President Javier Milei aims to replace peso with U.S. dollar. Let's check it out here. There he is in celebration. A big day for him for sure yesterday. New Argentine president also plans to shut down the central bank and aims to accumulate Bitcoin as reserves. So that is why Bitcoin saw a big spike yesterday in price, breaking out of this regression trend and moving to the upside. It's corrected now, and now it's really moving down to come test more than likely this midline of the regression. And even more likely than that, the midline here of the 4 hour on the Bollinger Band. Folks know I love the Bollinger Band. But that's just a quick little snapshot of Bitcoin. Why isn't Bitcoin just shooting up to 40 right away? Because we don't know exactly what Javier is going to do. He is a politician after all. Politicians are notorious for saying one thing and doing another. Now, I happen to look into the eyes of this man, Javier, and I see a true honest man. I see someone extremely passionate for his country, and someone who's not going to just, be overtaken by the force of things like the military-industrial complex, bribes. I see a man who is going to do the right thing, but what's yet to be seen, right? It is yet to be seen what exactly he is going to do. So that is why Bitcoin has not completely skyrocketed. We still need to see what exactly his plan is going to be. Perhaps he's going to go into office and find something about the economy, find something, about the global dynamics, the foreign policy of Argentina that would make it very difficult or impossible for him to implement Bitcoin as legal tender. Now, again, that's a possibility. That's why I'm bringing it up. That is one explanation of why we're not seeing Bitcoin at $40 per coin right now, right? But I look into the eyes of this man. I look into the tears of the people as they chant his name, and I don't see someone who is going to fall to the whims, right, of the corrupt politicians that exist currently in Argentina. I see him able to overcome that and overcome any obstacle that is going to keep his nation from pursuing true financial freedom. My argument and the argument that's going to be made by Nayib Bukele's team that's going over there is going to be that Bitcoin, instituting Bitcoin as legal tender, is the way that your country has to move forward in order to seek and achieve financial freedom. And he's already said, as this article shows, that he wants to at least accumulate Bitcoin as reserves. So Milei clearly understands the value of Bitcoin. And I'm kind of underplaying this, guys. I'm underplaying this just so that we can be honest, we can be measured, and as I say a lot, we can have a calm mind, right? This is, after all, this is an event, right? For traders and investors, this is an event that impacts the price of Bitcoin, right? We need to be honest. We need to be level-headed with ourselves about what's realistic to happen here. And right now, all we've had is just the election outcome that is favorable. Okay. So let's keep moving here because there is a very big story that we need to get to, and that is this one right here. Nayib Bukele clears Team Bitcoin El Salvador to visit Argentina. And we'll read this in just a second, but I've actually got an announcement. So as you take a look here on my chart, I've got all of these different indicators. I've got the MACD, I've got the Ichimoku oscillator, and you'll notice that this is from a specific provider. It's very small at the bottom of my screen, but it says Chart Prime, right? I've got some other indicators here from Chart Prime that are extremely helpful for folks who are trading. And if you go down to, say the 4 hour, you can take a look here. And as these indicators turn on and you can actually see what they do, you actually can find all kinds of awesome insights. As you can see right here, there's what's called a premium zone from Chart Prime, okay? And then there are discount zones, there's equilibrium zones, and there's these laddered support that you can actually derive insights on the chart that others can't, okay? Let me turn on a different one, okay? This is the Market Oracle Pro, right? This has helped many a people, including one of the bros in Army Piper, who's going to be talking a lot more about this. This has helped him trade for years, right? He's actually been a pro trader, okay, and he's actually helped make and design these indicators. And as you can see, I'm turning off the Bollinger Band here. As you can see, these are very useful, right? This part of this indicator right here, right, the prime ranges, has actually predicted the top here of Bitcoin. right? This has been going on for a long time. This didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It predicted almost perfectly the top wick here of Bitcoin. That's pretty darn perfect, right? Well, I've got good news for you, okay? This company, Chart Prime, that makes these indicators that you just saw on my screen, they have just released 3 new products: a new screener, a new backtester, and a new market dynamics, right? I cannot overstate enough how awesome this is. There is so much coming out from Chart Prime right now that I can barely contain myself. I'm serious. This is really, really big news. And guys, right now, if you go see, you're watching this YouTube channel, right? If you go down into the description, you can actually get 45% off. Right now, you can get 45% off these new products with Chart Prime. It's a lot of fun. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Okay, you have nothing to lose. You can cancel your subscription if you don't want to continue to use it, right? And so all you're out is that initial fee. And it's 45% off right now from the Investing Bros. You support me, you support the channel, you support Tim, right? And you also get access to this amazing indicator package that has just released 3 new products that you can get your hands on. Guys, a screener for crypto, it's unheard of. I don't think there's any that really work well out there, and now Chart Prime has released one. 45% off is the highest level of discount that you will find in the market. There are other people that are excited, just like we are. There are other influencers that are out there trying to help spread the word about Chart Prime. Okay, but none of them have a 45% discount because we were with Chart Prime from the very, very early stages of their development, right? Not from the very beginning, but from the early stages when we met Piper, who is a big, big fan over there, and he introduced us to him. So big shout out, obviously, to Army Piper. He's in the chat right now. He said, perfect time for Big FUD. Yeah, not exactly sure what he's referring to. Piper, if there's news, let me know. I'm not going to try to research live, but let me know in the chat if there's some news. But yeah, guys, Chart Prime, 45% off. Make it happen. Link is in the description right here. Nayib Bukele clears Team Bitcoin El Salvador to visit Argentina. Max Kaiser. Several Bitcoin proponents, including MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor, BitMEX's Arthur Hayes, and Elon Musk, congratulated Milei on the victory. It's a big victory there in Argentina. Max Kaiser on November 20th asked El Salvador President Nayib Bukele for an official visit of the Bitcoin team to Argentina. He added that the team will invite new President Xavier Milei, some might say, to dine at the presidential palace here in El Salvador and talk about Bitcoin. Man, I didn't get my invite yet. I'm still waiting on that invite to the presidential palace there in El Salvador. I bet it's really cool, really extravagant. Max Kaiser revealed that President Nayib Bukele has cleared Team Bitcoin El Salvador to visit Argentina on a Bitcoin diplomatic mission of peace and economic freedom. Brilliant. You gotta love that. And then there's one more bit of information here. Max Kaiser said Milei's victory can start a rally towards $40,000 per Bitcoin. Trading volume has increased after the big event, after the election, and indicates a further upside move in Bitcoin prices. So, guys, if you're not excited about this story, I don't know what is going to ever excite you, because this is so exciting, right? We're literally seeing history unfold before our eyes. This is like the invention of the railroad in Europe and North America. This is like the invention of the internet globally, opening up digital rails for people to send and receive information. And now we're seeing the future of currency being developed right before our eyes. At first they ignored it, then they hated it, and now they're joining it, guys. Entire governments are actually giving Bitcoin and digital currency the nod. Okay, and obviously big banks are doing the same. Gets a little more complicated there, but overall, it is very, very positive. So, guys, we brought you the run up to this election on the Investing Bros. I didn't hear any other channels talking about it. Certainly not showing the betting odds almost every episode. Now the betting odds are certain. They're kind of irrelevant because nobody's betting on it. It's over, right? But we were here talking about it, and now it's here. Now it's the biggest story after November 19th, yesterday, when Javier Milei won, right? And that's a big deal for Argentina. It's a big deal for the world. We have one more story as we wrap up here. So excited that you're joining us today. If you have gotten any value out of this video, please consider subscribing to the Investing Bros. I am but one bro. We have another bro and he is excellent at TA. And I hope that you would join to subscribe to this channel for news updates and also excellent TA here on the Investing Bros. And leave us a like as you're watching, and potentially leave us a like as you're heading on out. But before you do, I've got one more story here for you. A Japanese exchange plans to start digital securities trading on December 25th. Proprietary trading system operator Osaka Digital Exchange is set to kickstart the trading of digital currency securities in Japan through security tokens issued by two real estate firms to fill the demand for alternative assets. Tokyo-based companies reportedly planning to sell over $20 million in securities backed by property investments. So not a huge number to start with, but some good capital to throw around and get some data on how well that exchange is going to operate, guys. As you can see, the world is adopting Bitcoin. And more than likely, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you have adopted Bitcoin, or you are seriously considering adopting Bitcoin into your own personal finances. And it's extremely, extremely exciting time for not just Bitcoin, but for folks who believe in freedom all over the world. Right? Javier Milei is a libertarian. He's something called a libertarian. And if you're not familiar with that term, that's okay. That's all right. You don't really need to know what that is, right? It'd be good for you to find out what it is and do your own research. But ultimately, libertarians have been waiting for a moment. They have been, because they're not really a party that gets elected very often, right? In any country, certainly not the United States. But you've had a lot of libertarians in the United States, people like Ron and Rand Paul, okay, and not a lot of other notable ones that have actually been serious politicians in the United States, because it doesn't make game theory sense to run as a libertarian. Well, this may not just be a big moment for cryptocurrency, guys, because Javier Milei also stands for quite a bit more, obviously, than just cryptocurrency integration as a solution to economic problems. It's not going to cryptocurrency alone is not going to solve economic problems, guys. I hope you realize that. It's not a silver bullet. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution to the economic woes that face this planet, okay? The principles of libertarianism are also not perfect, okay, but they're much needed during this time. And so this radical politician, right, right-wing, far-right, whatever that even means, he is needed. The people of Argentina overwhelmingly have said this establishment government is now useless. Our inflation is at 140%, right? And it's only going to get worse. 142%. They've said we need somebody who's extreme, okay? And as we close here, I want to show you some final pictures. These are screenshots of an interview, okay, that Javier Milei said the Bitcoin is the natural reaction against the central banker scammers and to make money private again, okay? Some echoes of another radical candidate, right? Radical politician who's coming in and being a change maker. Make the money private again. It's a concept that we're going to be seeing a lot more of the further we get into the 2000s, I believe. By the time we're at 2025, who knows what the future could hold, right? I've got another picture here from the same interview. In economics with high inflation, the scam problem is bigger. That's why, as I suggest, you can propose to close the central bank. Guys, what is about to happen in Argentina is hard for people to understand. It's hard for people to say, well, what even is a central bank? Why, what does that do? Because people aren't really educated on this. There might have been a chapter in your textbook in school, in grade school, when you were a little kid, that you learned about the Federal Reserve and central banks, right? But there's a lot of people who've been studying this very closely, and clearly Javier Milei has been doing that, and he knows that these central banks are no good. Okay, he's done the theory work. He's studied it. He is a libertarian. And libertarians are notorious for having actually done the homework and actually knowing what they're talking about. Okay, central banks are part of the government. In the United States, it's actually a private agency of the government, because it doesn't make sense for a government to be the ones that manage the dollars, that manage the currencies, that manage money, and certainly not money supply. Why would a government ever be the one in charge of that? Okay? And for the last 2 decades, we've seen why they shouldn't manage it. Before that, we saw governments that were very proud, very patriotic, and honest and true in actually pursuing freedom and the interests of their people. And they happen to manage the money fairly well. Okay? But what Javier believes in, and what I think the world is waking up to, is that we need to make money private again. And Bitcoin is exactly that. Bitcoin is private money, right? It's money not in the hands of anyone, right? Crypto is in the hands of the private sector. Bitcoin is not in the hands of anyone. The dollar is in the hands of corrupt politicians who don't understand their left hand from their right hand. And it's been a problem, and it's only going to get worse. Okay? We thought we saw bad inflation in the United States. They're seeing it way worse in other countries. Guys, I'm T. Shroom, in for the Investing Bros. I am extremely happy for the outcome of this Argentine election. I'm extremely excited to see how the diplomatic convoy of peace and freedom is going to go, as the El Salvador diplomacy is going to go down to Argentina and help implement something new that is going to change the world forever. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you subscribe if you got any value from this video. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. And at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live again with my partner, Tim. We're going to be doing a lot more of taking a look at the charts for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to help you navigate these investments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.